Ah, yes. They're putting people into camps. Definitely a thing that is definitely happening, right? I wonder here. I wonder, what if we had any information on whether or not countries were putting unvaccinated people into camps? Interesting. All right, I have not covered Awakened with JP before, because it really didn't seem like something I would ever have to do. But I was informed that apparently his more recent content has taken a very political bent, and not in a very well-informed way. So I guess we're just going to be covering that here in a sec. But before that, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section. The first bit we have here is from Ink, or the Inky Gal, depending on where you happen to be viewing their artwork. We have two versions of it, but it is apparently Virgin Killer Sweater Suris with very angry eyes and using the tail as a baseball bat. You know, in lieu of the hammer, I think that's probably the best way to go. But we also have the version with the Angie glasses. Whichever one you happen to prefer, those are both there on display. The next one we have is from V Zeppo, also known as Alpacent. This is one that they have put a lot of updates on in the Discord, but it is finally done, it looks like. We got Raz trying to put the zombie of A Call for an Uprising back in its grave. We've got me literally sitting at Pumpkin Hill in the witch outfit, which I should use again once we get the blend shapes fixed up for it. And then, of course, we have a ghost handing, well, a lot of something is going to be coming to me. But rip A Call for an Uprising. This is A Call for an Uprising. Here lies Godfrey Gunnarsson. A lot of stuff going on in this pick, but it's very, very, very cool. Thank you very much for that one, V Zeppo. As always, everyone, thank you all for the fan art. If you want your fan art to be featured in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. And with all that said, one more very important thing. If you have not gone and checked out my website, suris.cc, please consider doing so. It was put together by the wonderful White Nervosa, and it is something that is still a work in progress currently, but if you haven't headed over there, please consider doing so. Kirasaka said it looked like 5k bits. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mama Sav, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an ada, you fucking monster. All right. This video is a bit of a doozy. It's called How Liberals Are in Denial About What's Going On, showing JP here in a full-on straitjacket. For those who are not familiar with this content, he takes a satirical bent to a lot of stuff, but, well, there's certainly a point where he maybe not, maybe leaning a little further away from the satire and a little more into the just oofing. Steampunk Ghost, hello. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. Let's go ahead and click that button.
Hey, man, I'm having some trouble.
What's wrong?
Okay.
Well, you know how the world's been drastically changing the past 2 years?
No, I honestly haven't noticed.
Well, I'm finding it harder and harder to stay in denial about what's really going on.
Sounds tough.
Yeah, I want to stay more committed to being wrong rather than admitting that I was wrong, but I'm struggling because things are getting pretty obvious.
So you're having trouble staying in denial?
Yes.
Well, that's where you're going wrong. Denial isn't enough anymore. You need to be in denial that you're in denial.
Oh, so like 2 layers of denial?
Exactly.
So you're
We
not
haven't gotten any actual content yet. Just, we go.
in denial?
No, not at all.
Oh, I see. You're in denial that you're in denial. Precisely. It's kind of like blissful
Steampunk Ghost, thank you for the
intelligence,
follow.
except it's numbness and not intelligent instead. That's inspirational. Oh, did you see the leader of the EU wants to get rid of the Nuremberg Code? Isn't the Nuremberg Code that thing that was put in place after the Nazis' genocide of the Jewish people under the guise of medicine and science?
All right, so do you hear what's going on yet? has the pitch of the dog whistle hit exactly where you needed it to be? If not, let's go ahead and break it down real quick. So we've already hit the genocide of people under the guise of medicine. For those who don't know, the tragedy of the Holocaust was under the guise of eugenics, not medicine, but sure. Also, maybe we'll just go ahead and do a quick fact check here. So, did they call for an abandonment of the Nuremberg Code? Let's see here. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen did not suggest that violating the ethics code created after World War II when she said in a recent news briefing that it was appropriate for EU countries to hold discussions over mandatory vaccination against COVID-19. The claim was made by users of social media following their appearance on a December 1st conference. So, yeah. The Nuremberg Code, a set of 10 ethical principles for human experimentation formulated in 1947, has often been inaccurately referenced to those objecting to vaccination efforts during the pandemic. The code establishes that the voluntary consent of the human subject is essential and that the experiment should be so conducted as to avoid all unnecessary physical and mental suffering and injury. The use of authorized COVID-19 vaccines and other restrictions to curb the spread of COVID-19 are not violating the Nuremberg Code, as a Reuters fact check explained in another article. So no, that's not what's being suggested there. But okay, we got our conspiracy theory beginning automatically. Also, specifically, von der Leyen did not mention the Nuremberg Code in a news conference. And when contacted by a spokesperson, they claimed that the claims about the code that they said were not true. That is the first knock on this video. But okay, let's maybe go ahead and continue in this little conversation / video we have going here. We've already got the first bit of bullshit. Well, 2 bits of bullshit. 1, the Nuremberg Code, and 2, the under the guise of medicine claim.
In order to protect the population from that same thing ever happening again? Sure is. But I think now they're wanting to get rid of what protects people in order to better protect people.
Except they're not trying to get rid of the Nuremberg Code. We already established that. Nobody's trying to get rid of the damn thing. But, you know, go ahead. Just sit there and... here's what I think happened, okay? If I were to steel man the position, here's what I think happened. I think he found a Facebook post and in epic boomer fashion, decided to do the equivalent of reposting it without actually scanning anything that was said. And now we're here, except the repost is putting out a video on a 2 million subscriber channel.
Wouldn't that open the door for the same thing to happen again? Probably, but I don't think that's the question they want us to ask.
Well, it would be, but except nobody's trying to get rid of the Nuremberg Code, so, yeah. I imagine that your point only works in the fictional world where the thing you're arguing about happening is happening. But if it's not...
What question do they want us to ask? How many of those 3 scumbag white people that Kyle Rittenhouse shot in self-defense were innocent black people that he murdered out of hate?
All right, so... let's go ahead and get this one out of the way real quick. When it comes to Rittenhouse, there actually was a lot of misinformation in the beginning about the people he shot and about whether or not they were African American. That was a bit of misinformation that was happening around that time. Now, the claim here seems to be that the Rittenhouse case is a media smokescreen, which I guess would work in the world where we planned the Rittenhouse thing happening for the purpose of smokescreening, but no.
I'd say at least 4, if not 5. And do you see how when we're talking about things like this, you've already forgotten about that important question that you asked? What question? Now we're talking.
Yeah, again... if you didn't think my point was about them using the Rittenhouse case as a smokescreen for attempting to apparently remove the Nuremberg trials, or the Nuremberg Code, which is not a thing demonstrably happening, here we are, I guess. Woo.
That's great. I read the other day that Webster's dictionary changed the definition of the word anti-vaxxer. Hey man, Reading's uninclusive to people who are too dumb to read. I know. I'll write those idiots an apology letter tomorrow. Great. What did they change the definition to? They changed the definition to include anyone who's against any law or mandate.
So, hold on. Let's read the actual thing here. A person who opposes vaccination or laws that mandate vaccination. All right. So, here's the thing. The definition of anti-vaxxer that's being thrown here from Webster's dictionary is not a prescriptive definition. This is a description of a thing that we are observing. We are observing now that anti-vaxxers are, by and large, all people who oppose any type of mandated vaccines, even if it is demonstrably true that mandated vaccines will actually help in these situations. Even in the world where that is true, they would still be against that. So, is it really a stretch for Webster's dictionary, which does not prescribe definitions to words, but merely observes the differences in our nomenclature and the ways in which our verbiage changes and then documents them? Would it not make sense for them to update based on the ways in which we are currently using the word anti-vaxxer? Wouldn't that be exactly what you would expect in this situation? Isn't this like the most mundane fucking thing? This is what we expect to happen. But okay. Apparently this is some red flag.
One who's against any law or mandate. I could imagine that it's important to occasionally change the definition of words in order to stay consistent with the truth that the word was originally designed to represent.
That's not how dictionaries work. Dictionaries don't give a shit about what a word originally was meant to represent. If you want somebody who cares about that, talk to an etymologist. Somebody who's interested in etymology is certainly going to be concerned with how words began and their original usages. The dictionary, by and large, though, it cares about what we're currently using. So dictionaries directly specify when a definition is prescriptive and when it's descriptive. Yeah, which means every fucking word in the dictionary would have a little asterisk that said descriptive definition. People who use dictionaries prescriptively don't actually understand how language works. Let's not talk about the definition of the word atheism now, please. Let's go.
Yeah, the new definition makes me think that totally sane people who just want their God-given right to freedom and body autonomy are insane. They couldn't be more insane.
Right, but here's the thing. If you want your freedom and body autonomy, but in so achieving it, the way in which you express that body autonomy creates a world where, I don't know, immunocompromised people can't go outside, or you end up spreading a plague further, then even one of the most libertarian of libertarians, Ayn fucking Rand, would argue, and has argued, that no, if you are going to be spreading a disease, or there is a higher chance of you spreading a disease, then it increases the net amount of fucking liberty and autonomy to get you vaccinated. If the vaccine does not hurt you, does not affect you negatively, except for, in this case, the one day you get to sleep a lot, and a bit of pain in the arm, which, again, you experience for a whole day. But the trade-off is that you don't become an incubator for thousands of people around you interact with every fucking day. The net amount of vacuous freedom in the world actually goes up. And again, this is not a point just from my lips. This is a point from people like fucking Ayn Rand, who I can't believe I'm actually agreeing with on this particular case. But here we are.
Based on what the now less accurate dictionary tells me to think. Hey man, what's that? Oh, I just got the latest booster that was designed for 2 variants ago in order to protect me from the current variant. And now, instead of a sticker, they just give you one of these.
Aha, yeah, I got a booster shot. That means communism, everybody. Get it? We make the joke that everything I don't like is communism, but then they do it. But then they do it. Aha. Okay. Second thing, when you say the booster that was designed for several variants ago, you do understand that it's an mRNA shot, right? As such, our body can actually do a whole lot more with that information. Our body also doesn't need a perfect replica of a virus in order to generate a good secondary response to it. Do you not know how vaccines work? Both bog standard vaccines that use dead viruses and also mRNA vaccines, the current one we're using for this, they work. Like, studies have actually shown that the booster shots are effective against current variants. But okay, sure, let's go ahead and just pretend they don't. Now, there is an argument where boosters are concerned. There is a secondary argument that we do need to get into, and that is that in areas where you can get your first 1 and 2 shots, 1 for the shots that require 1, 2 for the shots that require 2, that there is a limited supply of vaccines in the world, like in the world, and countries like America hoarding those vaccines, hoarding those shots instead of getting them shipped out to other places, does create a bit of an issue. So it ends up being that booster shots are good and useful, but there is a conversation about whether or not that is the best allocation of our resources where that's concerned. But that's not the point he's trying to make. That's me injecting nuance into that conversation. Oops, my bad.
Looks cool. What's it mean? I don't know, but they told me it's what I am now. Powerful. A lot of people are getting microchipped now. Dude.
A lot of people are getting microchipped now. A lot of people. You know, I wonder, what does he mean by a lot of people? Because if by a lot of people, he means, oh, I don't know. He read the beginning of this article right here, potentially. Microchipped implanted in your skin could be a COVID vaccine passport. M Gamer Bio says, I got a question that can lead, can you guess Stunst? I have no idea. In the meantime, so let's go ahead and look at this article, which is the most recent conversation that was not conspiratorial hoo-ha, talking about microchips, to see what he might be talking about. And what a lot of people are. A rice-sized microchip implanted under your skin could become your vaccine passport. Oh, could it? Let's see if that's hyperbole or reality. A Swedish tech startup says its device could be customized. So, hold on. This claim has gotten very strange. So the claim goes, and it's not just this article. This is December 21st. His video was released earlier than that. But this is the most recent information where this is concerned. So let's talk about the claim here. The claim is a lot of people are getting microchipped now. Yay! Okay, cool. Then the reality is a rice-sized microchip could become your vaccine passport. Okay, now we're moving into speculation. A Swedish tech startup, so we're not fully established yet, says its device could be customized. Okay, we have now, like, moved the goalpost several times at this point. Now it's a chance of a chance of a chance. If you want more information, it's Epicenter based in Stockholm. But, okay, so there's another thing. Now that we know that it's a chance of a chance of a chance, and this is not necessarily the reality that he's trying to put forward in his video, let's talk about the next issue at hand there. When people say they have issues with microchips, what do they mean? I'm not trying to be, like, I'm not trying to meme when I say that. I'm not trying to cause issue here. I legitimately want to ask. When you ask about microchips, when you're freaking out about them, what is the argument against them? I've seen two arguments. One, I don't want that in my body, and two, something, mark of the beast. And cool, if you believe it's the mark of the beast, you're just LARPing the apocalypse. Go play Fallout if you want to do that. But if we're talking about not wanting it in your body because you don't want to be tracked, right? Like, that's usually the argument. You don't want to be tracked by the government. All right, let's talk about RFID technology. Let's talk about how it tracks you. and that it doesn't. RFID technology, which is what these types of chips would be, don't track your location. They don't have that ability. They have a range of at best a couple inches outside of your skin. I'm not saying you should go out and get an RFID chip in your body. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying it's a good thing to do. But what I'm saying is the fear-mongering around it is kind of silly when you consider that, you know, they can't actually do the things that people are terrified of them doing at present. But okay. Let's go back to the video. Let's go back.
That's a crazy conspiracy theory. It's been 2 years since we've been saying that, but people are doing it now. It's reality. Over 6,000.
Which is not what we actually saw, but, you know, okay. Heads up, has anybody ever microchipped their dog? Feels like it's a really mundane thing that people tend to freak the fuck out about, but, you know, here we go.
1,000 people in Sweden got microchipped. It's literally Stockholm Syndrome.
It's literally Stockholm Syndrome because it's a Stockholm-based startup. Ha! Get it? Isn't it funny?
It's literally Stockholm Syndrome. Of course. How'd we survive so long not being microchipped and tracked by dangerous people that lie to us?
Yeah, because that's totally what's happening. As evidenced by the article, which didn't say that. But okay.
I don't know, but could you imagine how convenient it would be not having to carry our papers and not having any freedoms because we got microchipped?
Aha, yes, your freedom, the microchip definitely took your freedoms away. It definitely did that. The RFID chip that would function no differently than having a card in your wallet, which again, I'm not saying you should go out and fucking get, it is definitely stripping you of your freedoms. It's definitely what it's doing. By that logic, your wallet has also stripped you of your freedoms. Please leave it home when you go out and drive.
It would be delightful. Oh, speaking of showing your papers, in Austria, now they've put unobedient, uninjected people into an indefinite lockdown. Even better than that.
Oh, really? Really? Have they been? So in Austria, people have been put into indefinite lockdown, right? I wonder, what would happen if we had any information about that? Austria plans compulsory vaccinations for all. Austria is to become the first European country to make vaccinations against COVID-19 mandatory and will go into its fourth nationwide lockdown for at least 10 days from Monday. The Chancellor, Alexander Skalberg, has announced this. The government said it was preparing the legal groundwork for a general vaccine mandate to come into effect from the 1st of February with exemptions for those unable to receive a jab on medical grounds. The age from which people will be required to be vaccinated has not yet been determined. Those refusing to be vaccinated will likely face administrative fines, which can be converted into a prison sentence if the fine cannot be recovered. That doesn't say indefinite lockdown to me. That's the same way that a fucking parking ticket works. That is actually identical to how a parking ticket works. Interesting. So it says here, for a long time, the consensus in this country was that we don't want a vaccine mandate. In spite of months of persuasion, we've not managed to convince enough people to get vaccinated. Oh, so your people had every ability to prevent the situation from happening, and because they actively wanted to continue being super spreaders, here we are. That's what's happened. Yeah, none of this seems to be what JP is actually talking about. Huh. That's weird. It's weird how he keeps on, through hyperbole and misrepresentation, being absolutely fucking wrong. So weird that keeps on happening. But let's continue. Maybe it gets better.
Austria passed a law that requires all citizens to be injected by February, and if they don't, they go to prison.
Oh yeah, that's the one that actually happened. That's the one that I looked at. But again, it can be a fine as well. Again, this is literally just how a car ticket works. This is how a speeding ticket works. If you think speeding tickets are like the worst thing in the entire world, I guess we have a different conversation to have. But again, this is mechanically the same way that those type of tickets work. Like, look, they even make exceptions for people who can't get them. So what's the argument here? Like, I want to, if you're not vaccinated and you're in the comment section and you don't have a medical reason for doing so, please give me your arguments. Give me why you haven't been. Like, what's the reason? What's the benefit? Because to me, it just seems like being a child at this point. Like, the benefit is you're a child and you don't want to be told what to do, and you were told to get vaccinated, and therefore you're doing the opposite of that because you have the mind of a child. And with the mind of a child, you have created this world where you get to be stubborn and obstinate as a child. I don't know how many times I have to say as a child.
Just wish they could be even more strict and more obvious with what they're really doing.
What are they really doing?
What are they really doing? Huh? Well, obviously taking away all resemblance of freedom in order to protect their people from a disease with a very dangerously high rate of survival.
Yes. COVID, where the only problem is death. The problem is not that it has long-term effects on the body. The problem is not that it mutates and gets worse and worse as it mutates, Delta being a very good example of this. The increased ability for Omicron to spread is an example of this as well. Koki Donisk, Koki Dondosic, thank you for the follow. I guess it's also not because, this is a thing that can negatively affect people for a very long time. Long COVID's a thing. You also don't know how it's going to affect you until it happens. People who are perfectly healthy getting COVID have been ravaged in the hospital and barely fucking able to speak because of it. But it's just the survival rate. If we just cherry pick the survival rate, that's definitely the only thing we should be looking at. And, it is deadlier than the flu, and the flu already kills more than it should. Thank you, Mario Ran. But, when we ignore the reality of the situation we're in, I guess it makes sense to say the things he's saying. Yeah, totally. Definitely. Yep. Totally.
You can only imagine what kind of dirt the cabal has on the Austrian leaders.
The cabal, huh? What's the, JP? What's the cabal, buddy? You want to talk about that? Are they anything like the globalists? The lizard men? What's the cabal? JP? Who are they?
Are authoritarian and Australian the same thing? No, Australia's the thing that the authoritarians have taken over. That's right. It's also the place where a long time ago they rounded up all the Aboriginals and treated them like they were less than human. Oh, and they're doing that again today. I wonder if they like it now.
Are they, though? This one I'm actually less certain on. I know that there's been conversations about issues where that's concerned, but I actually do not know where this one is concerned. That's, Austrian or Australian? Australian. Said, yes, they are. Okay, so they are still causing issues with that. That implies that they stopped. So it's just a thing that's been going. It's just like how the United States fucks over its natives and continues to do so. I'm guessing it's around the same thing. Woo, he actually got something right there. But why did he bring that up is the question. What was the point? I mean, it's not a good thing, but I wonder why. Because when you're looking at content like this, you tend to try to figure out, what is he trying to make me think? What is the message he's trying to get across?
Well, I think they do, because the Aboriginals recently sent out an SOS for international help against the current genocide they're facing, because the now authoritarian Australian government is doing the same thing today under the guise of medicine and science.
Oh, there's the rub. So it's not that he's bringing up the point that, oh, this has been happening and needed to stop. He's saying, no. You see, Australia was bad, and then they were good, but then COVID happened, and now they're bad again because they've got this lovely little power vacuum they can use to abuse their native people thanks to COVID. That's the claim. There's the angle. There it is. Interesting. Okay. So, I'm just going to say right now that doesn't track to me. If what chat's saying is true, and the little bit I was able to look up for this beforehand is true, then yeah, Australia is still doing some stupidly shady shit when it comes to the native Aboriginal population there. but it doesn't have anything to do with COVID. This is meant to take their suffering and politicize it for a point against COVID. Right. That's, buddy, do you have a brain? Were you horny for Liv in iZombie? And did you feed your brain to her? She's not gonna fuck you, bro.
Can't get rid of the Nuremberg Code fast enough now, can we?
Again, the thing that's not happening.
They're also arresting teenagers for leaving their homes. Well, there's two sides to every story. And they're also putting people into camps. I love camping.
Ah, yes. They're putting people into camps. Definitely a thing that is definitely happening, right? I wonder, what if we had any information on whether or not countries were putting unvaccinated people into camps? Interesting. Let's look here. In December 8th, 2021, appearance on the Janesville radio show, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson ran through his familiar talking points when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine, including the adverse effects of the vaccine that are being reported to the nation's tracking system, that vaccinated people can still spread the virus, and reiterating that he has chosen not to be vaccinated. Then he added this jaw dropper. He said, I'm going to actually utilize my own freedom, my own health autonomy, and I'm going to choose not to get the vaccine. And now we are demonizing those people. Around the world, they're being put into internment camps, Johnson said. What's going on? Well, let's check that out. Apparently, the Australian quarantine facility they're talking about is not an internment camp. Big shocker. Big fucking shocker there. When asked for clarification on his remark, Johnson told Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporter that he was referring to a COVID-19 quarantine site in Australia that requires residents to return from international travel to stay for 14 days and be tested for the virus to ensure they aren't bringing it back into the country with them. Oh, so like quarantine hotels. That's an internment camp to him? That's a... yes, a quarantine hotel. Take 2 weeks off, go rest. We'll figure out if you are safe to go to the country and hopefully not spread COVID to everybody. That is the same as the Holocaust. Yep, definitely. Huh. That doesn't sound... Sounds at worst unpleasant. Yep. Yep. But okay. Okay. There you go. I did not see that argument coming. Yeah, it's weird how that works. All right, JP.
Me too. And the largest protests in human history are happening every weekend in places like Australia, Germany, France, and Belgium, with people standing up against the mandates. Well, because the mainstream media chooses to black them out, I refuse to acknowledge that they're happening, because doing so would invalidate my whole commitment to not changing my mind since this whole thing began.
So the claim here is that people are protesting vaccines and vaccine mandates. That's the claim. Cool. People can be wrong. People protest stuff and are wrong all the time. That nothing about that claim surprises me, nor does anything about that claim convince me. A bunch of people having a protest about a thing does not a convincing argument make on its own. I mean, if it did, then I would imagine that the BLM, that all of those protests would have convinced conservatives of literally anything. But, you know, apparently that's not exactly a thing that happens. But, you know, I understand that Omicron has less severe symptoms than previous variants, but it does also travel at a higher rate. But I would like to see the source that you are using. Please and thank you.
But do you think history's repeating itself? Well, I mean, the faster the, what are they called again? The cabal? Right. The faster they can erase our records of history, the more we'll think the answer is no.
Right. They're definitely... Who's they, again? The cabal erasing history? My guy... The most history we've had erased We've had things like the Trail of Tears and shit that have been actual like examples of historical erasure happening. But I wonder what they're talking about. Is there any potentially recent developments that happened that caused people to say you're erasing history? I don't know if he's talking about, you know, like throwing statues into rivers and shit like that. That would be a stretch for me to make that claim, but I don't know where he's pulling the history erasure from for this particular bit.
Which will help us go into peaceful slavery, well, more peacefully. Do you ever think we're in an endless pattern of new variant, fear-mongering, new lockdowns, new booster, more freedoms being eroded away?
So what do you mean by new booster? These are all mostly the same shots. Secondly, new variant. New variants happen and they are newsworthy, and negative news sells. That's just kind of how the news works. For this to be a point that's anything but mundane, you would need to actually be making a point that we would not fucking expect. Here's the thing. Most of America, most of the world, largely, is scientifically illiterate, including myself. Those people who are scientifically literate usually tend to specialize in fields and therefore can be considered scientifically illiterate in other fields. Astrologists, for instance, are not microbiologists. Not every microbiologist is an epidemiologist. But, you know, that's besides the point. So the point is that most of the public is generally uninformed on how viruses actually work, on how vaccines actually works. Astronomists, yeah, true, astronomists, not astrologists. Astrologists are also not microbiologists. That too. But sorry, that's a slip of the tongue there. The point is, not everybody's an expert, and everybody will end up considering themselves a Google expert at some point. Sensationalizing the news works on people, and it sells the news. If you want to change that, you need to change how humans respond to anything.
No, I'm pretty sure these first 3 times are the only times it'll happen. And besides, you get to upgrade your awareness to tunnel vision when you refuse to acknowledge patterns in life. I already don't know how to do that. And not knowing's half the battle. Well, I should get going. Where I live is currently not in a lockdown, but I want to go home and practice. Okay, but, what are you wearing that for? Well, the guys that abused me told me to wear it so I'm more controllable for my protection. You are lucky having them look out for you. Yeah. My soul has to leave my body just to cope with how well protected I allow myself to be. Bye-bye!
So, I guess the point for this part, I have to actually kind of cringingly agree a little bit. So, the reason I say that is lockdowns, as useful as they can be for controlling variants of COVID, controlling spread of it, all of that, as useful as they are when implemented correctly, they are not easy on the mental health, especially if you are the type of person who generally goes, you know, outside and touches grass, which is more people than you'd think if you're not that kind of person. I'm that kind of person. I like going outside. I like going to theme parks. I like going and playing Magic the Gathering. I like being out of the house quite a bit, actually. Lockdown was not the easiest thing for me. Now, it did get easier in the sense that I did all of my work, you know, from home. So I didn't have to worry too terribly much in that regard. But outside of my work, I craved being outside with people and being told that, oh, my home is the most safest place for me to be. That might be true, but it doesn't make it hurt less. It doesn't make it feel better. If that is indeed, and I'm trying to steelman him, if that is indeed the case he's making with that, then I have to begrudgingly agree that, yeah, with as useful as lockdowns are, they are not easy on the mental health. Like, literally at all. But why are you in an ice level in Banjo-Kazooie? Because it's wintertime. And we're here. Ha! But if that is his case, then I agree with that part of the video. I don't know if that is. Maybe if he ever happens to see this video, he can confirm or deny that part. I'm also very curious what he means by the cabal, because depending on who you talk to, that could be anybody. The last part of his video, though, is a plug, and I don't really care to play the plug. But since we know that a plug is happening, we know that it's time to go ahead and put up our usual plug here. If you have not gone to cuddlyoctopus/product/Suris, please consider doing so. There is this lovely cringy thing. I own my cringe. I own my cringe. And if you go to this website, you can own my cringe too. Crazy Motion, thank you for redeeming your points for an Avada, you fucking monster. There will be a link to it in the description, or if you happen to be watching live, you can hit !Docky, and that will take you to it as well. If you have not gone over to my website already, Suris.cc, please consider heading over there as well. It'll be a one-stop shop for everything my channel, and will be especially useful in cases where I happen to be taken off of Twitch or YouTube for anything. All of my stuff will still be viewable over there, if that's a thing that you are interested in. That said, let me know what you think in the comment section below about this, all of that. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And as always, everyone, insert in the video tagline here.